What's going on, everyone? I'm just an average American here today to react and learn about things Queen Elizabeth is not allowed to do? Come on. What? What's the point of being the queen if there's stuff you can't do? There's things she's not allowed to do. I was honestly kind of analyzing this title, thinking, what on earth? I mean, we got the common law, that everybody, she's probably not allowed to commit murder, for good reason. I'm glad, or maybe she is. I don't know the rules. She's probably not allowed to do that. There's probably things the queen can't do for national security or her safety. Or I was just trying to think of what on earth is the queen not allowed to do? I know she has a lot of royal traditional sort of privileges. I know she has that magic passport that lets her just go anywhere on Earth, I'm talking about it like it teleports you anywhere on Earth. No, it's just a passport. Anyway, enough speculating on my part. I'm ready to learn. What is Queen Elizabeth not allowed to do?
Queen Elizabeth may be one of the most famous people on the planet, but that doesn't mean she can do anything she likes.
That's funny. That's true. Sometimes I just think of Queen Elizabeth in terms of royalty, but she is a famous person. She's one of the most famous people on Earth when you think about it, and that comes with a lot of sway, she can probably do just about anything she actually wants, but maybe, I don't know. I'm curious.
In fact, her lofty position means there's a lot she can't get away with. Here are the things Queen Elizabeth has never been allowed to do.
A lot she can't get away with because of her position. Interesting.
In the UK, all citizens have the right to express their political opinions, or almost all of them at least. As it turns out, Queen Elizabeth is expected to remain strictly neutral with respect to political matters.
Oh, wow. I never even thought about that. But it makes total sense. I've never heard of Queen Elizabeth. I don't hear about her, As an American who's not really tapped into the UK news, I don't hear about her much, but I certainly have never, ever heard about her expressing a political stance. And that makes sense that it's kind of accepted. I don't know if it's officially a law of royalty or how that works exactly, but I get it. She is the queen. She's somewhat neutral, if you want to say. It just wouldn't be appropriate. So I get it. I get it.
This also means that she can't vote or stand for election. Usually the queen does a pretty good job of keeping her political views private, but just because she's not allowed to voice them publicly doesn't mean she doesn't have them. And she has actually
Yeah, I was gonna say that she's only human, right? She definitely has political opinions, in the back of her head. She's just like silently judging everyone with her fancy hat. I always have to comment on her hat. She always has a hat on. I mean, it looks cool. She pulls it off, but she's always judging from underneath that hat, man. Anyway, I'm sure she does have opinions. That she bites her tongue. Or maybe she doesn't.
In this rule on a few rare occasions. For instance, back in 1976, she let slip her opinions on American independence, allegedly saying, "We lost the American colonies because we lacked the statesmanship to know the right time and the manner of yielding what is impossible to keep." In another...
Oh, interesting. This kind of affects me. Wait, I can have a stance on this. I think I actually like what she's saying here. She's saying we lost the American colonies, aka where I am now, because we lacked the statesmanship. Not exactly sure what that means. The wherewithal, the strategy to know the right time.
Statesmanship to know the right time and the manner of...
And the manner of yielding what's impossible to keep. I can't tell if she's referring to some kind of strategic, location or battle during the war, or if she's talking about the American colonies in general, saying, oh, it was inevitable that we wouldn't be able to keep that, or if she's talking about, oh, we screwed up and that's why America became independent. I don't know. Oh well.
Of yielding what is impossible to keep. In another instance, the Queen made a thinly veiled political comment about an impending referendum on Scottish independence, saying, well, I hope
Okay.
people will think very carefully about the future.
Oh, come on. That's like the most vague you can get. But it's probably a little controversial for her to comment on some sort of Scottish referendum. And then even making a vague comment like this, you can interpret it a very particular way, whether she approves of it or not, and it's all she's the queen, so it's all very sort of inappropriate that she has a bias and interesting stuff.
Most
Interesting.
recently, however, she attempted to encourage potential doubters into taking a vaccination for COVID 19. Having
Okay.
recently taken the vaccine herself, the Queen said,
It is obviously difficult for people to, if they've never had a vaccine, because they ought to think about other people rather than themselves.
You know, I realized I don't know if I've ever really heard the Queen talk. I'm not even reacting to what she's talking about. I'm just thinking, have I ever heard her voice before? Wow. I mean, she sounds like I know she's 90 something. She sounds great. Like totally cognizant, totally intelligent. Like that's amazing. Perfect genes or something. I don't know.
it may seem strange, but members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth, aren't allowed to be touched by the so called common folk.
By the common folk. Get out of here, common folk. No touching. That's why I have my gloves on. I can't have skin to skin contact with you. I'm sure Queen Elizabeth is actually extremely polite in person and would never actually hold that view of, oh, I can't have the common guys, the disgusting normal folk touching me. That just sounds kind of like a traditional thing. But on the same token, the same side of that coin, I wouldn't really want people touching me. You know, if I was famous or something, if I was royalty, it's not like I'm better than you thing. It's just I don't want strangers coming up and touching me. You know, sorry.
Indeed, physical contact is one of the great taboos surrounding the British monarch, and
Okay.
initiating it with one of them is generally seen as a huge faux pas.
Yeah, but that makes sense because you just shouldn't be sprinting up to royalty and trying to touch them. Why are you trying to touch them? Who are these people? Why are you trying to touch everyone? Just leave Queen Elizabeth alone. It's also against the rules, for crying out loud, for good reason.
Still, this rule doesn't mean that Queen Elizabeth has literally never touched anyone from outside of her family. Sometimes she has even welcomed contact with other people in public. For
Right.
instance, she was once caught on camera with her arm around Michelle Obama. Obama later recalled the moment in her memoir, Becoming, writing that she never realized the touch would be such a big deal.
Yeah, this makes sense. Where when the Queen is like, I'm gonna socially like make contact with you physically, put my arm around your shoulder or something. It's just totally normal, totally like acceptable, which makes sense.
She said, what is true among world leaders is that there are people who handle protocol, and usually the people they're representing don't want all that protocol. So you wonder, well, who are you doing this for? Because they don't want it, we don't want it, but it's just the way things are. For people,
This does kind of make it even more of a honor though. If the Queen does decide to like give you a little pat on the head or something. I don't know in what context she would pat you or make any physical contact with you, but if she does, you've earned something. Good job.
dinner parties are a chance to sit back, catch up with friends, and enjoy a little good food. For Queen Elizabeth, however, dinner parties have never been that relaxed. She's certainly never had the freedom to choose her conversation partner at formal dinners. The rule is that Queen Elizabeth begins dinner speaking to the person on her right and then switches to the person on her left. This is
What? Wait, really? Oh my gosh, this would be so annoying. This is like, I wonder, is this actually something the Queen has to follow and chooses to follow? I feel like if she didn't want to, but it's like, then you're kind of disrespecting tradition. I don't know. I'm sure there's many things the Queen doesn't want to have to do, but does out of duty. So maybe she does talk to the person on her right, then the one on her left. It's like, well, if you don't have anything to say, it's like, But if you but if you're the queen, they better entertain you, right? You don't got to impress anybody if you're the queen.
Elizabeth begins dinner speaking to the person on her right and then switches to the person on her left. This is
Okay.
a pretty strict rule, too, as Formula One star Lewis Hamilton once discovered the hard way during a dinner at the palace.
So
Wow.
I sat down, and she was to my right, and I started to talk to her, and she was like, no, you speak that way first, and I'll speak this way, and I'll come back to you.
Okay. I mean, I get it. She's not being mean, except maybe kinda. It's not mean. It's like she's informing you of the protocol, even if you think the protocol is dumb. It is what it is, and she's just saying like, oh no, you talk that way, I talk this way. That's how it works. You'll learn. You'll learn. Actually, you're never invited back here again. But thanks for coming. No.
There's no doubt about it. Queen Elizabeth is about as much a celebrity as you can possibly get.
Yes.
Unlike other celebrities, however, the Queen has never been allowed to sign her autograph.
Oh, never even thought about a queen's autograph. Well, that's because it doesn't exist. I just learned. Yeah, I suppose as a celebrity, you'd be asked for autographs, but I almost think no one would be so disrespectful to ever meet the queen and be like, can you sign my hat? Like, like, come on.
In fact, the entire royal family is banned from signing their names for fans in case their signature is forged later on. Now,
Okay.
there have been a few rare
Okay.
instances in which other royals have broken this rule, but don't expect to see that kind of rebellion from the Queen anytime soon. But
Yeah, this is kind of a security issue as well. Not allowing people to like get a hold of your signature and stuff. But you could have like a separate signature, but you're the queen, and it's like, I'm not signing your baseball shirt, so.
by the sound of things, Queen Elizabeth rarely signs her own name, period. In 2020, an old 1954 Christmas card from the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip, was sold at a staggering £4,500,
Wow.
simply because Queen Elizabeth's signature is so rarely seen.
Oh.
The joy of choosing a baby.
So it's not like illegal to have it. It's just something she never does for good reason. But you can still purchase the signature, maybe for a couple $1,000 if it means that much to you. If you want to try to sign a check for like $10 million from the royal treasury in her name and see how quick you get arrested, you can try.
Baby name is one of the most fun parts about bringing a child into the world. Sadly, Queen Elizabeth has never had the freedom to name her children like most people have.
Really? Really? This I didn't know. It's all predetermined based on like family lineage and past royalty, passing down names, stuff like that?
The Queen is mother to 4 children, Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. And while she probably had some say in her children's names, there are a number of traditions and restrictions that likely guided her decisions.
Wow.
Indeed, royal baby names are a pretty serious business. They have to both acknowledge history by paying respects to relatives, while also being fashionable. The complex
Fashionable too. you can't pick Lord Farquaad or whatever who's not fashionable enough to pick their name or whatever, but you still have to pay respects to the past. That's kind of why all the royalty and their names, even from an American's point of view, we pick up on that. It's like all the names seem to be used a lot over and over and similar, and now I finally know why.
cities of naming a royal baby don't stop with the first name either, as most royal tots end up with a number of middle names, each paying homage to various relatives.
This is why you'll never get, like, Prince Francesco or something actually interesting. Okay.
For instance, Prince Charles's full name is Charles Philip Arthur George. Prince
Yeah.
Edward's full name is Edward Anthony Richard Louis.
Oh my goodness, these are the most stock. I just realized these are the most names I've ever heard, if that makes any sense. John, Andrew, Edward, George. Just the most straight up name you've ever heard in your life. Nothing even remotely crazy going on here.
And Princess Anne's full name is Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise. Talk about
Okay.
a mouthful. Unfortunately
Okay.
for Queen Elizabeth, public displays of affection are strictly off limits for royals.
Oh, no PDA. Public display of affection. Man, I mean, that's another thing I've never seen a picture of ever, now that I think of it, is royalty or the queen showing public affection, making out. No, like they caught her at, at night at Buckingham Castle under the water fountain or something like 40 years ago. But anyway, it makes sense, honestly. It's not really a good image, I suppose.
Largely as a matter of custom. It is, however, a largely unspoken rule. As royal etiquette expert Micah Meyer told People magazine, senior members of the royal family would likely not be told how to interact or when they can or cannot show PDA, and would be trusted to use their better judgment as to when it's appropriate.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing here with a lot of this stuff is who's gonna be the schmuck to go up and be like, Your Highness, you can't do that. Please stop holding hands. It's like, who's gonna do that? No one's gonna do that. She gets to do what she wants, and the queen can use her best judgment, which I think she has, from what I can tell, uses common sense and judgment is like, I'm gonna maintain a respectable image here.
This unspoken no PDA rule is generally thought to be linked to the fact that the royals are often out in public in an official capacity, and hugs and kisses would simply be inappropriate. Naturally, couples like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, or Kate Middleton and Prince William, have broken the rules a few times. But what about Queen Elizabeth? Would she ever be caught sharing a moment of affection with her husband, Prince Philip? Well, way back in 1953, Philip kissed the Queen during her coronation.
Oh, caught her on camera. Oh, got her. On the fuzzy old cameras. Wow. Here, I thought she had a perfect record. My respect has gone out the window. I can never look at her the same. She kissed her husband once on camera 40 years ago. She can never live this down, ever.
1991, he kissed her on the cheek during the New Year celebrations.
Oh, on the cheek. Come on. Absolutely unacceptable.
Aside from those few instances, the Queen has tended to keep her romantic life decidedly private.
Okay.
One of the strictest royal rules the family has to follow has to do with how women are allowed to sit. Specifically, that they're not allowed to cross their legs.
Okay. And this is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is literally so you don't see their legs, their dress isn't lifted in any manner, that kind of thing.
It's to do with how women are allowed to sit. Specifically, that they're not allowed to cross their legs. Royal etiquette expert Micah Meyer, who covered classic royal positions in her book, Modern Etiquette Made Easy, explains that she calls the common female sitting position in the royal family the Duchess slant. The sitting position involves keeping the knees firmly together while tilting the legs to the side.
Wow, they've really analyzed this to death. Oh my gosh. I didn't know this was a thing. You can go get a scientific degree in analyzing how royalty position their legs at a perfect 32-degree angle slant to the left, but never crossed, mind you.
Indeed, it's hard to imagine seeing Queen Elizabeth with her legs crossed these days. As she said on the ITV documentary Queen of the World, sitting cross-legged is actually quite painful.
I mean, the only thing I found difficult was sitting cross-legged.
For a long period of time, it can be difficult.
It's quite painful.
Still, from the looks
Right. Well, sounds like it's her personal preference just by chance, but I don't know. This seems like quite an uptight traditional kind of rule. Just no crossing your legs ever.
of it, she broke the unspoken rule about leg crossing quite a few times in her youth, when she was a little more sprightly. Many people's given names are
Oh, man.
seldom used in their daily lives, and both nicknames and short-form names have become a staple of modern life, with almost everyone going by a shorter version of their full name.
Sure.
But for members of the royal family, using a nickname isn't really allowed.
You know, I just realized. I've certainly never heard the Queen referred to as anything but the Queen or Queen Elizabeth or Queen Elizabeth II. That's it. Nothing else. Certainly not Liz. Oh my gosh, Queen Liz? Yeah, it doesn't even sound right. Wow. I wonder if anyone in her personal life, though, ever talks to her like calls her Liz. You know, when you're so famous and so rich and all that stuff, I feel like you want those people in your life who will treat you normal, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if the queen would like some people in her family, to feel free to address her informally, call her Liz if she wants that. So there's certain circumstances where you wouldn't want so many formalities. Oh my goodness.
All royal family members are expected to go by their full names in public, as anything less would be deemed inappropriate.
Public.
Still, this
Okay.
doesn't mean that Queen Elizabeth and her family don't have private nicknames for each other. For example, Queen Elizabeth was called Lilibet while she was growing up.
Lilibet. Okay, that's nice. I like that. Little humanity.
Additionally, her husband, Prince Philip, often calls her Cabbage. And
Cabbage. Cabbage. Wow, that is such a good nickname. Cabbage. Love
when
it.
Prince William was a child, he reportedly called her Gary, as he couldn't say Granny. That's
Oh, okay.
quite a nickname for a queen.
Okay.
One of the rules Queen Elizabeth must always follow is to never sit on another monarch's throne.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah. This makes sense. That'd just be weird, right? When would you ever be in a position to sit down on some other nation's throne? That would just be strange if they were offering it. If you ran it, if you were visiting and you just sprinted into their palace, sprinted towards the throne, you're like, I'm sitting on this now. It's like, why? You would never do that. So they can have this rule. I don't think it matters because the queen isn't about to be all about that.
While the opportunity probably doesn't arrive very often, Queen
Yeah.
Elizabeth did have to follow the rule on one particular and rather strange occasion when she
Oh?
visited the set of the HBO series Game of Thrones in 2014.
Wow. Okay, I was like, this has never happened, right? This doesn't make sense. She freaking visited the Iron Throne. The fake one made of swords from Game of Thrones. That is perfect. And then she couldn't sit on it. Okay, wow, I'm glad this rule actually got used once.
Queen Elizabeth clearly thought better than to sit on the show's Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Actress Maisie Williams, who portrayed Arya Stark on the show, spoke about the incident on the YouTube series First We Feast. She
Yeah.
said, "She didn't necessarily refuse, no one said, sit on that chair because it is going to be funny. We all
Right.
just sort of smiled and were like, is she going to do it? She sort of looked and said, that doesn't look very comfy."
That doesn't look very comfy. That's a very diplomatic way of addressing the situation. Because she knows in her mind, there is no way in hell I'm sitting on that thing. For many, many reasons.
When it comes to food, the royals have to follow a surprising number of rules and regulations. So while
Really?
you may be tempted to think that eating like a king or queen means eating everything your heart desires, this is far from true.
Why? Why would the queen have dietary regulation? Like, to make sure she lives a long, happy life? Or like, like, are we forcing her to have, like, like all the vitamins, just stuffing vitamins down her throat, and the, like, Gatorade and electrolytes and the proper meats to be, like, to make sure she's at peak health? Is this just a health concern, or are certain foods illegal for royalty to eat?
Apparently, Queen Elizabeth and her family are never allowed to eat or drink a wide variety of items, including shellfish, garlic, and even tap water. The ban
What?
on shellfish is in place and
Not tap water, huh? Yeah. These must have some kind of historical precedent.
case of digestive issues that can interfere with public engagements. Foreign tap
The shellfish thing is literally just so it doesn't give you massive diarrhea or something, like digestive speaking problems. Just so you don't screw yourself up. That kind of makes sense, but it's more of a recommendation, right?
Tap water is also off the menu for the same reason. Garlic is reportedly off limits too, according to a former palace chef, and you can probably guess why.
What? Garlic? Because it'll make you fart? Is that what we're not saying here? Okay, I mean, it's practical. It makes sense. I actually understand.
There are a number of beauty rules the royals are forced to follow too. After all, there's a reason you never see paparazzi shots of Queen Elizabeth and her family in their sweats and sneakers.
That is true. This is true. Never seen a photo with the queen looking bad with any, like, casual clothing, now that I think of it.
First of all, Queen Elizabeth has never been allowed to grow long nails, so long, colorful nails are an absolute no-no in the palace.
Oh.
Additionally, Queen Elizabeth has to be mindful of her hair and makeup, as the royals must always have neat, healthy-looking hair, while makeup should be modest and natural.
Oh, wow. They get pretty specific here. I wonder if they have, like, a dedicated makeup assistant to help them with this? Gosh, this is just one of those things where it probably becomes such a part of your daily life. Just getting your appearances, like always putting on an appearance all the time, constantly. It's just probably becomes ingrained in your daily routine.
There is a little wiggle room with these rules, though, and the Queen in particular is a big fan of wearing lipstick. She even has her own signature pink color, while all of the other ladies in the court select more muted tones.
Oh, a little personality with the Queen. Okay.
In fact, her passion for lipstick is such that she even had her own shade commissioned for her coronation. Some of the greatest photographs in royal history have come courtesy of the Queen's occasional sojourns to church or to the races, with her behind the wheel. And while it's certainly not common to see the Queen behind the wheel, she really does love to drive, having learned while
Okay. I mean, that's kind of cool, right?
serving in the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service during World War II. Nevertheless, it turns out that the Queen probably doesn't get to drive nearly as often as she'd like to. As Duncan Larcombe, an ex-royal correspondent, told Town & Country, when they're on official royal business, as far as I can remember, they are always driven to and from their appointments.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense. That's kind of sad, you know? They don't get a lot of opportunity to just be normal people. It really is your whole life is consumed by being royalty. You will never experience anything close to a normal life. You're going to get driven everywhere. Driving a car around is going to be like, oh, this is fun. This is this is something I don't get to do. Drive a car. There's probably so many things like that, and you don't get much free time because you're doing engagements all the time. Yeah, so a lot of people are probably like would want to be royalty, but I can think of a million reasons why you wouldn't want to be royalty too.
Even when the royals do get to drive by themselves, they're never really alone, Larcombe explained. They'll still have their protection officers in tow. They would have had at least 2 vehicles driving with them and a protection officer in the vehicle with them, all armed. Yikes.
Oh my
As much
gosh.
as she'd probably like to, it doesn't seem like the Queen gets to enjoy the open road like the rest of us do.
Yeah.
It's not just in the car that Queen Elizabeth is surrounded by security guards, though. In fact, the Queen has probably never been out in public without security guards at her side.
Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of the Queen's Guard, but she probably has so much private security as well. By that I mean people who are dressed in disguise as normal people, just regular police, bodyguards constantly everywhere. Yeah, I'm sure. Like any huge figure in the world.
According to some reports, each member of the royal family has up to 5 highly trained armed officers to look after them while they're out and about. And
Yep.
when Queen Elizabeth visits her Scottish palace, Balmoral, she's apparently joined by a security team made up of dozens of officers who reportedly refer to the Queen as S. And all this security isn't for nothing. In 1974, Princess Anne, Queen Elizabeth's daughter, was almost kidnapped, but
What? What? I have never heard of this. Almost kidnapped. I mean, if one incident happens ever in a lifetime, that is sure to, that's gonna make sure you're gonna have bodyguards around you for the rest of your life. Like, it proves the point that they're necessary, that there's crazy people out there ready to do stuff to you.
was saved by her security guard. And when the Queen was visiting Jamaica years later, her guards had to rescue her from an overly adoring crowd. So while this level of constant security may sound
Wow, I'm surprised. You know, if you live an entire life as royalty, there's gonna be some point where there's a security flaw or something, the crowd gets too close, they're like, oh, they're touching you, which is against rule number 1, no touching. By the way, I just learned that. They're all touching you, trying to do stuff, get their moment with the Queen, and it can be scary, honestly.
a little over the top. Based on these incidents in the past, it's probably necessary for the safety of the Queen.
Yep.
Check out one of our newest videos right here.
Oh.
Plus,
Oh, that's it. That's the list. That was by the list. That was by the list. Nice video, very nice. Wow, that was very enjoyable. I wasn't sure what to expect with this list of things Queen Elizabeth isn't allowed to do, but it makes sense that most of this stuff is pretty pragmatic. It's pretty logical. Some of it is kind of based in tradition, but a lot of it actually makes sense. If I look back at some of these, no political opinion, yeah. Nobody can touch you. That's just like, I don't want someone touching me. Just quit it. So that makes sense. The weird way that she has to talk to people at dinner is that's probably one of the stranger ones. Oh, and the restrictions on how she can name her children. That's just something that I guess comes with being royalty. It's kind of something you would accept after a while. Not the end of the world. Crossed legs. No nicknames. Can't sit on the throne. Not even the Iron Throne made of swords. Can't drive around much. Bodyguards. Yeah. A lot of this stuff actually makes sense and is kind of the way it should be. And some of it is just, well, you're the queen, so it's expected of you. Some of it's kind of dumb. Some of it's kind of like, okay, makes sense, even if it's traditional. So it's all cool. It's all quite interesting. Yeah, the life of the queen, man. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this one, me reacting to the UK, Britain, events, news, culture, things I've never seen, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.